The Nightly Business Report.
Good evening. Tonight, a statement by the Finance Ministry says that Sri Lanka is tightening governance of state banks to reduce state bank lending. Following the tea industry's protests, officials of rubber industry says a deeper crisis is expected due to mandated wage hike. The stock market doesn't seem to recover from its lows as it does not show any signs of gains for the third day of the week. And airfares in Europe and Asia are starting to fall, delivering a setback for airlines struggling with higher costs and limited aircraft availability.
From Studio 24, here's Sina Mayadune.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. A statement from the Finance Ministry says that Sri Lanka is tightening governance of state banks to reduce state bank lending, especially to loss-making state enterprises which have been used for off-budget spending in the past.
The statement said that the balance sheets of the state-owned banks have been used to absorb losses of state-owned enterprises and help finance large-scale fiscal deficits, thereby delaying reforms and accumulating debts, which contribute to the economic crisis. State banks in the future will finance SOEs on commercial terms, competing with private sector banks. Any dollar loans will be in line with their net open position exposures. Loans to loss-making SOEs beyond 5% of equity will require special board approval and risk management sign-off. Any loans against treasury guarantees will be subjected to a ceiling under an upcoming fiscal management law. Bank of Ceylon and People's Bank capital will be boosted using the 2024 budget allocation of 450 billion rupees and also capital injections from institutional investors. Independent directors who are not politically exposed persons under Financial Intelligence Unit guidelines will be appointed.
Sri Lanka's industry officials of rubber production says that the industry, which has collapsed over the past decade, will get into a deeper crisis due to mandated wage hike, which will increase loss. The officials stated this after the tea industry also protested the move.
Sri Lanka produced 152,000 metric tons of rubber in 2012, but by 2023 it had fallen to only 64,400 metric tons. A census by Sri Lanka Rubber's Development Department had found that the area cultivated had fallen from 138,000 hectares to 98,250 hectares. Manoj Udugampala, a former chairman of the Colombo Rubber Traders Association, told reporters in Colombo that apart from that, if one takes the rubber extent they had 10 years ago, which was 138,000 hectares, last year the Rubber Development Department conducted a fresh survey and according to that census, they now have only 98,250 hectares, estimating a 40% drop in the land extent. He added that out of these 98,000 hectares, around 10,000 hectares, or about 10% of the total extent in the country, are mostly kept abandoned, predominantly by the smallholders. The reason is with every kilo they tap, they incur a loss. RPCs manage a total of 30% of the rubber production as well as lands, while 70% is managed by smallholders who are moving away from the rubber industry.
Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manu Shananayakara says that Sri Lanka's new Employment Act that is being drafted will not include provisions against discrimination based on age.
When asked about the job advertisements that specify age, the minister commented that ages it can be decided by the employer. Sri Lanka is working on a revised Employment Act which would address discrimination based on gender and sexual orientation. He added that at the moment it's with the legal draftsman and that they are planning on sending it this month before election. Nanakar said that the new act would regulate workers in the informal sector. Moreover, he stated that from this new Employment Act, there is no such burden for ladies, gents and anyone can go for any job and there will be no restriction for any. However, the Minister of Public Administration have advertised that employees wishing to join the ministry should not be more than 45 years of age.
Time for a short commercial break now. More updates right after this. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. The stock market records a trading session ending with deep lows and does not seem to provide any positive data in the recent weeks. Both the all-share price index and the S&P SL20 index were seen in the red at the end of today's trading session, marking the third day in the negative trajectory for the week. To get the breakdown, let's go to Kanushka Jayatissa joining us from SC Securities.
Yes. In today's market, the all share price index closed at 12,102 points, marking a 125 points decrease, while the S&P SL 20 ended at 3,550 points, showing a decrease of 69 points from the previous session. Total trading volume reached 55.6 million shares with a turnover of 1 billion rupees. The top gainers for the day were SMB Leasing, Industrial Asphalts and Blue Diamonds Jewelry non-voting. Top losers for the day were Cargo Boat Development Company, Tess Agro and Ceylon Printers. SMB Leasing, Browns Investments and Blue Diamonds Jewelry recorded the highest share volumes, while the Commercial Bank of Ceylon, Sampath Bank and Lanka Milk Foods led in turnovers. Notable crossings include Sampath Bank with 2.3 million shares trading at 179 million rupees, Lanka Milk Foods with 1.1 million shares trading at 34 million rupees, Nations Trust Bank with 175,000 shares trading at 21 million rupees. In other news, Commercial Bank of Ceylon announced a rights issue and it aims to raise 22.5 billion rupees.
The central bank's bill auction for this week took place today. To gain insight into the outcomes and their potential impact on the secondary market, we connect Anjali Matthews from First Capital Holdings.
So today's Treasury bill auction witnessed a consistent downward trend in rates, where the total amount offered of Rs 160 billion was fully accepted, and the yield saw a decrease across the board for the 7th consecutive week. So the weighted average yield rate continued to hover below the 10% mark across all the tenors, where the 3-month bill was accepted at a weighted average yield rate of 8.62%, with a decrease in 14 basis points from 8.76% last week. And similarly, a weighted average rate of 9.04% was accepted for the 6th-month bill, with a decrease in 13 basis points from the previous week. And a weighted average yield rate of 9.1% was accepted for the 1-year bill, marking a decrease of 11 basis points from the previous week. Notably, the amounts offered across all the tenors were fully accepted. And the primary reason for the yield drop was the continuous movement in the market liquidity. Yesterday's policy meeting, which was held by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, where the decision to maintain policy rates at their current level in an attempt to sustain inflation at the 5% level was announced, and has also helped to further bring down the rates. The central bank's decision to maintain interest rates at their current level is in alignment with First Capital Research's forecast on the maintenance of the central bank's monetary policy at its current rates to reduce government security yields and allow the economy to strengthen further. We do anticipate that interest rates are likely to bottom out on the shorter maturities, with yields hovering below the 10% mark. However, further developments in economic indicators, together with the completion of the EDR and the signing of the board-level agreement for the 3rd tranche, can also further bring down the rates.
Gold prices declined below the $2,360 level today as traders reduced their expectations of an interest rate cut following remarks from Federal Reserve officials. Spot gold saw a 0.07% decline to $2,359.55 per ounce. Meanwhile, U.S. gold futures saw a 0.17% increase to $2,360.50. Markets now await the release of U.S. inflation data due on Friday for more insights into the economy's trajectory and the possibility of an interest rate cut. In addition to the decline in gold prices, other precious metals saw mixed movements. Spot silver rose 0.08% to $32.13 per ounce. Oil prices increased today amid growing expectations that the world's largest oil producers will continue to cut supplies at a time when global demand is set to rise with increased travel during the summer. International benchmark Brent crude traded at $84.25 per barrel, recording an increase of 0.37% from the closing price of $83.94 per barrel in the previous trading session. The American benchmark West Texas Intermediate traded at $80.20 per barrel at the same time, a 0.46% rise from the previous session that closed at $79.83 per barrel. Oil prices climbed today due to rising expectations that the OPEC Plus group, the organization of the petroleum exporting countries and allies, would agree to continue voluntary crude oil supply cuts at the group's next meeting on 2nd of June. The OPEC Plus group had previously decided to cut production by 2.2 million barrels per day. The Sri Lankan rupee remains steady against the US dollar at commercial banks in Sri Lanka today in comparison to yesterday. According to the People's Bank, the buying and selling rates of the US dollar are unchanged at 295 rupees and 13 cents and 305 rupees and 12 cents respectively. At Commercial Bank, the buying rate of the US dollar is unchanged as well at 293 rupees and 58 cents, while the selling rate is also unchanged at 304 rupees and 50 cents. Let's see what sort of behavior was recorded by the rupee against the other global currencies. Let's go for a short break now. Corporate world coming on the other side. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. In an era where artificial intelligence is rapidly evolving and transforming enterprise on a global scale, Lanka GPT announces the upcoming launch of Sigiriya AI.
This tool was developed by a team of 30 spread across Sri Lanka, United States and Dubai, is geared to launch in July of 2024. Sigiriya AI is the first of its kind, built by Sri Lankans for Sri Lankans locally and overseas. The initial version of Sigiriya AI will be a text-based platform, is designed to support Sinhala and Tamil, and will encompass various dialects, regional phrasing and pronunciation nuances. The tool was created using collection of proprietary datasets, including 10 billion Sinhala datasets and 10 billion Tamil datasets, developed in partnership with a multitude of academic institutions. The platform aims to penetrate the Sri Lankan market and extend its reach to regions that hold a significant population of Sri Lankans, including the Middle East, Canada, Australia, and more. The platform also recognizes the vast Tamil-speaking communities around the world, including India, Singapore, Malaysia, and other Southeast Asian countries.
Dialog Axiata plc introduces smartphone plans, one of the nation's first installment plans designed to offer all Sri Lankans a convenient and affordable solution for purchasing the latest Android smartphones.
This innovative plan enables customers to own the latest Android smartphones by paying just 40% upfront, with the balance conveniently spread over 24 months and integrated into the Dialog Power Plan postpaid mobile bill. Prepaid customers can also upgrade to the postpaid power plan while retaining their existing mobile numbers to avail themselves of this benefit. Additionally, the plan is available through LazyPay, allowing prepaid customers with credit ratings to enjoy flexible payment options and access to the latest technology. This initiative empowers customers to choose their preferred smartphone bundled with their power plan monthly bill, with device installments and monthly power plan rentals starting as low as 3,298 rupees. This process is seamless, allowing customers to visit any Dialog Experience Center and leave with a new Android device.
MasterCard had partnered with Lanka Pay, Sri Lanka's national payment network, to further strengthen the cybersecurity infrastructure of the country's financial services sector via the Financial Sector Computer Security Incident Response Team. Lanka Pay established this team in 2014 to safeguard the financial services sector from potential cybersecurity threats. This was a combined effort by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka Banks Association, and the Sri Lanka Computer Emergency Response Team Coordination Centre. As part of this collaboration, FinkCert will leverage Risk Recon, an advanced cybersecurity solution by MasterCard, to further help financial institutions safeguard operations and ensure consumer data protection. Risk Recon by MasterCard empowers organizations to gain deep, continuous risk insight by evaluating over 40 security criteria across 9 domains. The leading blue-chip conglomerate, Aitken Spence plc, achieved robust fourth-quarter results, significantly contributing to an improved financial performance for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
The group reported a strong profit before tax of Rs 4.8 billion with a growth of 412%. During the fourth quarter, the group reported an impressive EBITDA inclusive of equity accounted investees before interest expenses, tax, depreciation and amortization of Rs 8.8 billion, recording a growth of 44%, showcasing the contribution from all sectors towards the fourth quarter results of 2023 and 2024. The strong profits of the fourth quarter were primarily driven by the enhanced performance of the group's local hotels, further augmented by the substantial increase in tourist arrivals in Sri Lanka, facilitated by group's destination management segments. The group's maritime and freight logistics sector also recorded an improved quarterly performance compared to the fourth quarter of the previous year and significant improvement over the first 3 quarters. For the year ended 31st March 2024, the group reported a profit before tax of 6.7 billion rupees. The group reported a strong performance across most businesses, with tourism sector being the major contributor.
Lanka Pay announces another partnership, and this time with Union Pay International, enabling cross-border ATM connectivity. This collaboration marks a significant milestone in Lanka Pay's global journey towards fostering cross-border payments with a view to provide greater convenience to tourists who visit Sri Lanka. With the rebound of tourism and international trade in Sri Lanka, seamless cross-border financial transactions have become a pressing need. Recognizing this demand, Union Pay International and Lanka Pay have joined forces to establish a comprehensive network that enables Union Pay cardholders to access ATMs across Sri Lanka, providing unparalleled convenience and accessibility. Let's take a short commercial break. Global updates coming right away. This is the Nightly Business Report. Welcome back to the Nightly Business Report. Most Asian stocks fell today, weighed by persistent concerns that sticky inflation will push major central banks into keeping interest rates high for longer. Australia's ASX 200 index was among the worst performers in Asia, sinking 1% after consumer price index inflation data read stronger than expected for April. Japan's Nikkei 225 index fell 0.3%, while the broader Topix index lost 0.5% today. South Korea's Kospi fell 0.9%, while futures for India's Nifty 50 index pointed to a negative open, with the index set for more profit-taking after hitting record highs this week. Hong Kong's Hang Seng index slid nearly 1% on profit-taking in technology stocks, which offset gains in the property sector. China's Shanghai Shenzhen CSI 300 and Shanghai Composite indices were the sole gainers in Asia on Wednesday, rising 0.5% and 0.4% respectively. After 3 holidays, Wall Street is back with its trading. The Nasdaq crossed 17,000 for the first time ever, boosted by gains in Nvidia, while the S&P 500 closed barely higher and the Dow ended lower as Treasury yields rose.
The Nasdaq crossed 17,000 for the first time ever on Tuesday, boosted by gains in Nvidia. The Dow shed more than 0.5%, the S&P 500 ticked up marginally, and the Nasdaq added nearly 0.6%. AI chip leader Nvidia gained nearly 7% to close at another record high, boosting shares of other chip stocks as traders returned from a holiday-extended weekend. Apple shares rose early in the session after data showed iPhone sales in China surged 52% in April from a year earlier. But the stock paired gains late and closed nearly flat. Shares of marketing software maker HubSpot gained more than 8% after CNBC reported Alphabet is in talks to make an all-stock bid for the company, following a Reuters report last month that the Google parent was exploring an offer. Hess shareholders approved a $53 billion merger with Chevron, sending the latter's shares up just under 1%. Hess shares closed up just shy of 0.5%. And shares of original meme stock GameStop shot up more than 25%. Late on Friday, the video game retailer said it had raised $933 million by selling 45 million shares.
Airfares in Europe and Asia are starting to fall in a sign that a prolonged travel boom following the global health crisis is waning, delivering a setback for airlines struggling with higher costs and limited aircraft availability.
Airfares in Europe and Asia are starting to plateau or fall as a prolonged post-COVID travel boom is waning. It's a setback for airlines struggling with higher costs and limited aircraft availability. A global imbalance between supply of flights and pent-up demand as air travel opened up after the pandemic drove up ticket prices. But industry experts and insiders said the travel at all costs trend is balancing out, with some customers becoming more sensitive to pricing as they grapple with inflation driving up living costs. Fares were flat across the European bloc in the first months of this year compared with 2023, data from travel research group Forward Keys shows. The data is starker in Asia Pacific, where fares have dropped the most, down around 16% in the January to April period year on year. With Asia slower to lift restrictions and ramp up overseas flights, travel to markets like Europe, America and Australia from countries like China has not recovered. With China's economy sluggish, international flights remain around 70% of pre-pandemic levels. Economists and analysts said flatter European airfares point to lower earnings and savings rates across the continent, leading consumers to seek cheaper options. But a strong US labour market has seen consumer spending hold up, with demand particularly strong for premium travel. Around 16 million Americans travelled abroad in the first quarter of 2024, setting a new record and surpassing pre-pandemic volumes, according to the Mastercard Economics Institute.
Elon Musk's AI startup xAI raised $6 billion in Series B funding, reaching a post-money valuation of $24 billion as investors bet big on challenges to companies like OpenAI in the intensifying AI race.
xAI raised $6 billion in Series B financing to reach a valuation of $24 billion, as investors bet big on challengers to companies like OpenAI, which Elon Musk co-founded and later quit. xAI says the funding will help the development of future technologies, including a reported supercomputer. NVIDIA's strong quarterly revenue forecast and stock split have lifted its shares to record high territory. The chipmaker's value has tripled in the past year on AI optimism. NVIDIA has more than 80% of the market share for AI chips, with analysts like Greg Halter from Carnegie Investment Council expecting it to maintain its grip. Amazon will introduce a more conversational AI-powered version of Alexa later this year, according to a CNBC report. It suggested the e-commerce giant plans to charge a monthly subscription fee for the voice assistant to offset technology costs. Amazon declined to comment. Michael Schumacher's family has secured around $216,000 in compensation over an AI-generated magazine interview. The 7-time Formula One world champion suffered a serious brain injury in the French Alps in 2013. An April 2023 edition of Die Actuelle magazine ran fake quotes created using AI. Finally, U.S. lawmakers have backed a bill that would make it easier to restrict the export of AI systems. The House Foreign Affairs Committee cited concerns that China could exploit AI models to bolster its military, posing a potential risk to U.S. national security.
Well, that's it from all of us at the Nightly Business Report. Tune in again tomorrow at the same time for more key updates. I'm Sina Mayadune. Have a good night.